Joining me now is Congressman Al Green, Democrat of Texas. Congressman, you emphasized that your spontaneous protest of Trump's joint address was about the massive cuts he and Republicans are proposing to Medicaid as they slash through the government. Despite that, you were escorted out of the chamber and censored. The president has called you low IQ and an embarrassment. And the far-right House Freedom Caucus is trying to get you stripped of your committee assignments. I want to remind our viewers that you led the charge in Congress to impeach President Trump during his first term. Do you think that has factored in all of this?
Thank you for having me, Reverend. Of course I do. I think that the president, who is known for his desire to retaliate, is engaging in what he's known for. And I do believe that we have a responsibility, however, to protect Medicaid. Medicaid is all many people will have when it comes to health care. In Texas, we have about 20% of our population without health care, more than any other state in the country. Our children have an uninsured rate that is twice that of the national rate. So we have to protect Medicaid. And that was what that was all about, protecting Medicaid. And I am prepared to suffer the consequences. Protest, peaceful protest, is about getting in the way, as John Lewis put it, and also being prepared to suffer the consequences. But Reverend, that doesn't mean that I have to like the consequences.
Yeah, I heard you say that immediately after the censoring, and I identified with it. You talked about that's how many of us in the civil rights movement behaved. I've been arrested over 30 times, have done 3 months in jail, 45 days in jail, all for nonviolent protests, and you accept it. And you said you're not angry with Speaker Mike Johnson or members who voted for your censure, which included every House Republican and 10 Democrats, some of whom have complained that the protests during the president's address were uncivil, a mistake, and a distraction. But as I recall, you may have 2 House members with the last name Green who've protested during recent presidential addresses. Only the black one is being censored for it. Are Democrats being too civil during this time when American rights and freedoms are literally on the line?
Reverend, that's a great question. The president recognizes that we are being civil, and he uses his incivility to take advantage of our civility. I was dismayed, disappointed, and quite frankly, I was hurt to see the President of the United States indicate that the Democrats were lunatics, that we are lunatics. He did that on national TV at the joint session of Congress. He will not be censored. He will not be reprimanded. He will not be in any way placed in any kind of punishment. I think that we are finding ourselves in a position where we have to meet incivility with incivility. Now, Reverend, he does it to harm and demean, just as he has given me this nickname that he thinks is going to somehow besmirch my name or my reputation. We do it to uplift people. He does it to put people down and demean people. That's the difference. If you're doing it to uplift, to help people on Medicaid, to help people on Medicare, Social Security, save the Department of Education, protect veterans who are being fired, those who are at the VA and working, if you're doing it for these reasons, that's a righteous cause. And I think that we'll have to have additional incivility, which is another form of peaceful protest.
Now, the Democratic response to your protests and censor showed just how divided the party is over not just how to counter Trump, but how to craft also a compelling message to American voters ahead of our next election. Some Democrats have taken a combative stand with Trump, or they're using the courts to block his action. Other leaders are trying to find places they can compromise with the administration, or focusing on pragmatic message that contrasts with Trump's chaos. Which response is right for this moment, in your view, Congressman?
Reverend, allow me to just use this metaphor. When I leave here, I'm in Houston, to go to Washington, D.C., I'll take a plane. There are some persons who may go by train if they choose. Others may go by car. The vehicle is not really the question that we have to cope with as much as it is the destination. We're all moving toward the same destination. Some will choose a different vehicle. I think that we have to, at this point, have a combination. We have to have the litigation. We have to have legislation proposed, even if it doesn't pass. And then we have to have some agitation. I think that all three will give us the opportunity to metamorphose into a message that will make a difference. And I think that this will give us the opportunity to reclaim the House. I really believe it. And when we do, then we will have the opportunity to set the agenda.
And when you say we will set the agenda, I note that your tie says we the people. Now
Yes,
let me
sir.
go to this issue. Nearly 200, I repeat, cases of measles have been identified by the Texas Department of State Health Services in an outbreak that has persisted in the western part of the state for 2 months now. One unvaccinated child has died, the first measles death in 9 years. Roughly 24 people have been hospitalized. And the state is warning that the outbreak will spread as another unvaccinated person has now died from an outbreak in neighboring New Mexico. Despite all of that, Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is worrying doctors by not emphasizing vaccination and by promoting fish oil and vitamins to combat a highly infectious disease. Are you confident that this administration is doing everything it can to help fight this outbreak?
I'm confident that this administration is not, N-O-T, not doing everything that it can. And I'm so pleased, Reverend, thank you so much for bringing this up. We have children at risk, and we are seeing something that is growing in terms of the numbers. I would hope that Mr. Kennedy would step forward and would encourage people to understand that there is a means by which your children can be protected. I have been vaccinated, and if need be, I'll be vaccinated again. I believe that we should not allow ourselves to take up these snake oil remedies for something that science has proven to have a remedy for. At one time, we thought we had eliminated measles in this country. Now we find ourselves having to fight that fight again, and it's because of people like Mr. Kennedy. I would hope that he would change and that this administration would save lives as opposed to promoting things that can be harmful to children.
Now, on a sad note, tonight, Politics Nation joins Texas Democrats in the city of Houston in mourning late Congressman and former Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner, who died at the age of 70 this week. He was on this very show just 2 days earlier before his death, and just months after he won the seat held by the late Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Is there anything you want to share in the Congressman's memory?
Please, thank you. He was more than a great state representative who served for more than a quarter of a century, more than a great mayor, served for 8 years. He was truly a great human being, a great public servant. He had a hand of friendship for everyone that he could help. He got us through Hurricane Harvey. He helped us through many of the storms of life, however, that we confront here and across the globe. I just want people to know that he was a person whose life ought to be celebrated. And to his family and friends, I send my deepest condolences. And I'll always remember him for his great oratory. And when he would reach his crescendo at the end of his speech, he would always say, "To God be the glory for the things he has done." I say, to God be the glory for allowing us to have some time with the Honorable Sylvester Turner.
On that, I want to thank you, Texas Congressman Al Green.